dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Goonies never say die.
God knows I want you, but you don't get to destroy who I am.
The Night Rider.
I'm a compulsive liar.
That's rough, buddy.
And use the power of the Matrix to light our darkest horror.
Hey everyone, welcome to another unsettling episode of the FanCast. Today, we have me and Mike, and before we start with our typical spiel, I want to give a quick shout out. The day that this is uploading, we also have another project that finally got uploaded, our Marble Hornets fan film that we talked about on the first episode, that completes the story from the original student film that Alex Crayley was working on. So if you guys can go check that out, that would be awesome.
Just look up Alex Crayley's Marble Hornets, and it should be one of the first videos that pops up. It's going to be called Alex Crayley's Marble Hornets, the final cut.
Yep.
And it's going to be under the channel of the name Crayley.
Yeah, I'll link it. I'll link it below, so make it a little easier for everyone. And without further ado, today we are going to be discussing The Shining.
Little pigs, let me come in. Not by the hair on your chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. Here's Johnny.
So Mike, when was the first time you watched The Shining?
So the first time I watched The Shining, I think it was 2017, Christmas time, I believe. And it was really late at night. I was in Alabama, in my sister's living room. I was just by myself. Everybody else was sleeping. And I just saw it on Netflix, and I was like, you know what? I haven't seen this. I know it's a classic. It's something I should watch. Well,
yeah,
I don't know what that, but it's a classic that was on my bucket list. And I watched it, and yeah, I stayed up all night after that, just watching stuff about it.
I have to say before we continue that, just like the last episode, this one's not as child friendly.
Even more.
Yeah, this is even more so than the last one. So, viewer discretion is advised. I'm ashamed to admit that I only watched it very recently. I am familiar with it. I was familiar with the lines. I was familiar with the scenes here and there, of course, because of film history, but I never actually took the time to sit down and watch the whole thing until just recently. And I must say, it's as good as they say it is. However, I do think that there's a clear boundary between... let's start by just saying, before anything, a lot of people just kind of take it as, the typical, this is a haunted house movie, And I think that's such an overstatement for what it's trying to do. Personally, I think it's a story about a family who slowly goes insane, living out in the middle of nowhere, and the threat of the past, of the history of the hotel, still looms forward. What do you think of, Mike?
I mean, that's pretty much what Stanley Kubrick actually said in an interview when describing The Shining. The thing though is on on the surface, yes, that's pretty much the basis of the story. But there's so many little things throughout the film that suggest that there could be an underlying theme or story or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I would agree. The thing is that like we're not here to like. There's so many theories. We can talk about a couple today, but we're not here to say this is the definitive answer, the definitive way to watch it. Just like my perspective, it's not. I don't know. I don't see it as like a simple haunted house film. It's more of, you know, slipping away and going insane. And the thing is, the book is apparently more like that. It's more about Jack Torrance himself slowly like ending up with it. And this is the only criticism. I told Mike this. My only main criticism for The Shining is the whole power of The Shining is used almost like once. And it's pretty much fruitless at the end, where basically, well, the only like useful use of The Shining is narratively is that it warns the mom to be afraid of, you know, Jack.
Yeah.
And that it summons the other guy to the hotel, but still, it's like that doesn't. I don't know. That doesn't justify the power just existing in universe. It's still cool. It adds to the atmosphere and everything. But honestly, the crux of the film is all on Jack Torrance. And I believe the book went more into detail, like where the Shining lies between the two. That Shining has some kind of power with this house and everything like that. But for just this movie alone, I don't see it as much as like a force that's as important to the narrative. Like you could take it out and it's still a good movie, but I don't know. I guess it adds that overwhelming loom of like typically with your horror films, let's say like Friday the 13th, you got the campers and then you get Jason who tries to kill them, and that's pretty much what you get, you know. And it's like a slasher. They get dead and it's an unstoppable force and everything like that. I think what this film is kind of trying to set is that no one's really safe from like kind of a supernatural force. So like Danny, it like also has the Shining, and it kind of controls him, and it's really creepy. Also, there's a good question of how many visions in the house are the Shining to them, and how much of it is really like actually haunted, and how much is it's going insane. And there's like really not a percentile for each.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty weird. Like I don't even know if I would exactly even use the word haunted. Like if you watch a video by Eye Patch Wolf. He did a whole video on The Shining and like why it's terrifying and everything. The mansion, or I'm not the mansion, the hotel was not really so much haunted, but more alive than anything.
Yeah, and I get that.
And yeah, it's I don't know, it's complicated.
And that blood coming out of the elevator, everyone uses that as like, oh, it's scary visuals, but it could also signify one of three things in my way. One, like internal organs, kind of like Monster House kind of thing. Like the house is literally alive. Two, you know, the blood that was spilled, like they hinted the classic like Indian burial ground kind of thing. And it could have been like that. Or three, it could have been every previous victim who came to the house and died and basically became one with the house, like with all the other caretakers. That's the other way it could be seen.
Actually, there is another video by Collective Learning, Rob Aber or something, I forgot his name. He did a video just on that shot of the blood coming out of the elevators, and if you look closely, it looks like you can actually see an object coming out of the door. If you look really closely, and it just lands like right in front of the elevator. I don't know for sure, but it's an interesting theory, and Stanley Kubrick even did like multiple takes just on that one shot because for some reason I guess the blood didn't look right, but he wanted to get something in there. So
I also want to say that like There are some outlandish theories out there. Like, we were just discussing one the other day that, like, maybe there was, like, a sexual connotation and, like, there was pedophilia involved, but, like, it's kind of ridiculous. It goes a little off the deep end for me.
The only, the only, the only thing that I see that supports that, and it's a stretch, in my opinion, is in the beginning when Jack is sitting in the hotel, and the guy that hired him comes in and like shows him around the place, and if you look closely, you see Jack is actually reading Playgirl magazine, and there's a little thing. If you actually look at the cover of that specific issue or whatever, it actually says why parents have incest with their kids, and it's really it's weird.
That's very possible.
Yeah. Also, it's Hollywood.
Yeah.
So probably know it could be there intentionally, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah. There's so many different things I've heard about it. The other outlandish theory that I just don't subscribe to is that it's you knew I was gonna say that it basically confesses to the moon landing and that he had the NASA shirt on and everything, and I just don't get it. I don't see it. The film is anything but, it's like, why, like, what character would represent Kubrick in this film then? Like, what's the confession? Where is it? If it's supposed to be a confession, I know Kubrick does Kubrick in his own way, but, like, in what way is this supposed to be an omission? I just don't see it like these other theorists do. It just doesn't seem likely to me.
Yeah, honestly, the best thing that actually fits into the whole movie, in my opinion, is the whole idea of the Native American burial ground, and like that the film is a whole entire like metaphor for the genocide of Native Americans.
That's an interesting one, and that can make sense because like it's, if you want to take it from like classic horror aspect, it can be like saying that the reason that people keep dying there and the caretakers go crazy every time is like, it's almost like the house is taking people back. It's like taking souls back for all the people that were killed. And you could see it that way. But like I said, I think it's just like, what's a good example? I'm trying to remember. It reminds me of some kind of story. I'm trying to pull it back. Basically where certain objects and certain pictures can drive people insane and kind of like make people I know it's kind of a weird example, but not Dire Docks, what is it? There's this one level in Mario 64, I forget what it was. I know it's a K level, but everyone has like this common uneasiness whenever they play the level, and there's no reasoning behind it. Like, people try to say it's the early CGI, it's this, that, and the other thing. Same thing with Wet Dry Land in that one. It just makes you feel so uneasy. And just like the way, and I believe that architecture and like the way the house was constructed could have been like that, honestly. That's kind of what it made me feel like, at least for the film, is like the visions like didn't literally have to be ghosts. It literally could have been like their manifestations are gonna repeat because the house is almost built to do that, which I don't know. I feel like that's an interesting theory that I don't think is considered all too much. It's claustrophobia in a way, because everyone's stuck there in the snow and everything like that. It's really interesting.
Also, the whole idea of isolation, because Kubrick intentionally chose a giant building to really emphasize on that. It's almost similar to like the atmosphere of The Thing, but
well, the thing is
a little different.
The Thing is more claustrophobic, but like this is claustrophobic in a big area. It's like, it kind of reminds me of coronavirus, where it's like, I know we shouldn't bring it up as much because it's annoying to talk about. I just hate talking about it, but basically this whole idea is like, you can go anywhere you want, but it's still inside this building, and that's kind of what that thing is. Like, you can have the biggest house, but it doesn't matter, and that's the whole idea of The Shining, is that this house is so. It's funny. Emperor Lemon just recently released a video on the thing and was talking about how it kind of predicted the future, because like all these people have to like be suspicious of each other because there's like a virus that's infecting one of them, and they all stay inside and everything like that. And this is similar to that, only it's not a virus, it's just they have to stay inside because they'll die if they go anywhere.
That reminds me, there's another theory that's, in my opinion, also just too wacky to believe. It's another. There's a theory saying like, The Shining is also a metaphor. Like Jack represents like man, and Danny represents AIDS.
I don't what.
And
I'm already lost.
Yeah, I know. So like he's trying to kill Danny, so he doesn't like go out into the world and spread it around, because AIDS was like a big thing in the 80s. And I guess, I don't know, according to the theory, I guess Kubrick like knew about this or something.
I don't see it representing AIDS, but I could see it as like the parents are kind of like, I think one of the best poetic ironies in this film is like Jack is so embarrassed of his son being like a weirdo and wants to fix him, and then he ends up being crazy. And I think like that's still there, that's definitely there. And there's that commentary on family like perspectives. It's like you just think your kid's crazy and he needs to be fixed and everything like that, and that's where you get the abuse and everything. But it's like it also comments on like very early 80s kind of punk rebel, like authorities don't have to tell me what to do kind of thing, but in a very subtle way. Like it's not like, of course, like Danny's not going up to Jack and be like, you don't tell me what to do, like the Twisted Sister music video or anything. But it's definitely that opposition of like the parents say he's crazy and think he needs help. Like that whole scene is like, oh, think he needs help, he needs a doctor. Meanwhile, he's actually going crazy. And Danny like being one of the only like survivors with his mom. It just shows like just because someone seems to have a authoritative outlook, it doesn't mean that they are of a respected caliber. I think the book went into that more, and like that fatherly figure kind of dismantled and like commented on that, like just because someone is instilled as a father figure doesn't mean that they're always going to do the fatherly thing. My question is, why didn't they allow alcohol there?
Where, in the hotel? I don't know. To make Jack go more insane. I don't know.
Like, wait, are you trying to say like The Simpsons, where it's literally they try to do the caretakers actually got rid of it to make the person go insane?
I have no idea. I mean, that would actually be a really...
That's what The Simpsons said, at least. The Simpsons made it that Mr. Burns cut the power and took out the beer and everything like that. And like that's what caused him to go insane, is that like he knew that beer was his vice and everything. But it was by accident. But it seemingly implies that in this movie it was on purpose, and the guy that basically gives Jack the house knows he's going to go insane.
Maybe. I mean, I don't think it's the ultimate thing that gets him to go crazy. I think it's just like one of those stepping points that brings him to that breaking point. The thing though with the movie, because in the book, I guess I never read it, but apparently Jack is much more sympathetic and more normal, and he doesn't go insane until later. But straight from the beginning in the movie, Jack Torrance is already kind of psycho, and you can already tell just with Jack Nicholson's still like A+.
It's a great performance, but it's still Jack Nicholson. It's hard to convince us that he's a normal guy. Even as a Joker and everything like that. That's one of the rare times you see the Joker before and after, and it's I don't know. It's that's supposed to be another transformation. Everything's supposed to be transformation with him, but it's so hard to do Jekyll and Hyde with him when he's just so good at doing Hyde. You know what I mean? And people say, and I've heard people say, like the Blustalgic Cricket said something on That's what we're gonna call him, so we don't get he doesn't come our way. We're talking about the nostalgia critic. Shoot, I messed up. Never mind. Disregard. Either way, he was saying that the good thing that the miniseries that came out later did is that they actually gave like Jack a character before he went insane, and that he actually has like a slow dive into madness. But I still think they do that well in the movie. Like that him at the typewriter is not like him completely insane. He's just like ticked off. And there's that line of like you don't know if he's just annoyed or actually psycho, you know? And I think anyone who is in that confrontational experience is annoyed or psycho, you know, you can't really tell the difference. That's at least how I see it. You know I had those experiences, Mike. You know I've told you those stories.
I think we've all had. I have weird outbreaks like that.
I think it's interesting because I think it's also commentary on parental abuse, like for Danny. I mean, Danny and Jack's thing. I think a lot of things are. That might be me imprinting, but I saw a theory a couple of years ago talking about Coraline and how that alludes to like parental abuse basically, and how like the best quote unquote best thing for your child and the quote unquote best thing is not always the best thing. And I don't know, that it's a, if you step back from the horror angle of it, it's basically a family drama.
Yeah, pretty much.
It could be like if you take out all the like spooky elements, it would just be a straight up drama. That's how I see it, at least.
Oh yeah, kind of like it would almost be like a soap opera type thing.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Brian's back. I haven't seen that guy in years.
Does Sarah know you're here?
You think you can show up and I'll be here waiting for you?
Hey everyone, just letting you know that our podcast is officially out on Spotify, Google Podcast, and Anchor. So if you want to listen to our podcast on the go, we have the links right in the description below. Also in the description below, we have our shop. Morning, Noon, Night NWO design, still available, but get it while supplies last. Thank you again for Anchor for sponsoring our video. Now, back to the podcast. And we're back. Now, here's the big question. Here's the big singer, Mike, that I must ask you.
Okay. Shoot.
What does the ending mean? That's the question that's plagued everyone for years. And I think I have a good estimation, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
Honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't think I really knew. Because all I know is that Jack was always the caretaker. That's all I know. I have no idea how to explain that ending. I don't think I even really thought about it that much, because I've been so distracted about all the other theories around the movie.
Well, you can take it literally that he was always the caretaker.
I guess either that or he was sucked into the picture or something, but I have no
People
idea.
Say that. I don't. That doesn't seem like something Kubrick would do. I think it's kind of like, I think it's the house imprinting him. Like, he kind of won his place among everyone else. Like, my question is the last guy who went insane, is he in that picture or no?
I don't think so. I don't think anybody's ever pointed that out. If he is in there, then I'm sure somebody would have already.
Yeah, and that would pretty much give like a definitive answer.
Honestly, what you're saying does make sense though, because you know, when Jack gets locked up in that storage room, and he's talking to Grady, and Grady's like, "Yeah, we all think you're not really up for this. Are you sure you can do this?" And he's like, "Yes, I can."
Shoot, something that actually adds to that I just thought of. When he was taking the tour of the house, he actually shows, there's a scene where they show a bunch of pictures of the previous people. I think the last person who was, this is my official theory I'm thinking of now, I think the last person who was there has his own picture up there, and so does Jack. And every single caretaker will have their own. And like, I don't get why the date would still be like 1928, but still, like, yeah. I don't know. That's my best theory. Because then you got the 1928, you got the ball and everything like that. But
I think it was 21,
1920, whatever the date was. It's in the 20s still. Still a lot of confusion. Maybe maybe something happened on that day. Maybe that was the day that the house became alive or something. Huh.
Or maybe, what if that was the date when it was, I don't know, when it was built. I don't remember if they actually like clarified that in the beginning when they're doing the tour.
It was a winter ball or whatever it was, a spring ball, whatever. Maybe it was like an official housewarming for it. That would make sense. I don't know if that lines up with the timeline with the house being built, because it seems a little older, but it has a freezer. It has these different things that wouldn't have room for if it was built in the 1800s. So it's very possible.
Yeah, maybe, and yeah, and who knows what the Indian burial ground could have looked like too before that.
I think it could very well be that was a date that everyone got stuck in history, and not everyone in that picture got stuck there, but like the new caretakers all had similar demises and killed their families and everything to earn their stripes and earn their place. It's kind of like a weird Hunger Games kind of theory, where each one is kind of like strapping and trying to survive for the best, situation. It's interesting. Also, could just be like, that could just be, this is my other theory, my second theory, that's Jack's last moments, like before he dies, is that like that's what he visualizes? Because I saw a film, I'm thinking of ending things recently. My professor didn't like it. A lot of people online didn't like it. Because like, even when they did get what was going on, there's like a twist in it. I don't want to spoil it for you in case you want to watch it, but it's a very long, kind of drawn out movie. But basically, it does have a scene that's similar to that, where it's like someone's last days on Earth and how they visualize that. And I think that, like, Jack just wants to be, with his book and everything like that, he's just an insane man who kind of wanted to be accepted by society, despite, like, that's at least how he talks to the bartender. He's like, he's saying like, oh, I didn't hit him. I didn't do this. I didn't, like, he wants to be seen as a normal person. And like, his last time on Earth could be him, like, in his head saying like, I made it. I did it.
It's also weird. There's now that you like mention him in the bar scene, there's a lot of continuity errors that I think are intentionally put in there. Like, for example, so in the bar scene, and Jack is talking to Lloyd and telling him like how he broke Danny's arm. He said that happened 3 years ago, but in the beginning of the movie, when Shelley Duvall is talking to the doctor in her house, she said that happened 6 months ago.
That has to be that's 100% intentional.
And also, in the scene where she goes to check up on Jack while he's typing up his paper, and he's like, hey, when I'm typing, you don't come in here. If you look in the background, you see the chair. There's a chair in the background. It's gone in some shots, but it's there in other shots. It's like, it's the same exact shot, but it's taken out. Like you see it, then you see Shelley's face, and then you're back to that shot, and now the chair's gone, and then same thing, and then it's back. That's also intentional, and also
It would be funny if it's
I think
not. If just like everyone's praising Kubrick as this director, but he's like just really bad. Just imagine, like, oh man.
if you watch CinemaSin's video on The Shining, they even said like, okay, this is cool if this was intentional, but I just think that Jack Nicholson just broke it, and because of all the takes that it took for them to
Oh my
do.
god, that's funny.
Because Stanley Kubrick was insane during the making of this film. He did so many
let's talk
takes
about that because like moving way more from the theory and more of the production side of things. This is like on the level of Twilight Zone the movie on where's the line between the final product and what it took to get that final product. Kind of like Hannibal Holocaust kind of stuff.
It took them almost a whole entire year just to get the thing done.
Yeah, but I'm talking more about the Shelley Duvall literally being tortured in order to do it. Like, is that deserved? I don't think that's deserved. But at the same time, I don't think it ruins the final product. I think the final product could have been done without it. It kind of reminds me of best example. Look, it wasn't really method acting. It was kind of method acting. It was just forcing him into the situation, forced method acting. But like, it kind of reminds me of the Joker in Suicide Squad, where Jared Leto got so method actor, so into it. Like, this is not new news. Everyone knows this. Basically, he got so into it, and it ended up being like such a crap film, and it didn't even matter. Like, even if it was a good film, it still wouldn't matter, because I think you can give a performance without driving yourself insane. Like, that's what a lot of actors have done and will do, you know? And I just don't see it's the cuties approach to filmmaking where it's like, oh, the only way to show this is by doing it, and it's like the whole idea of filmmaking is it's a magic trick. It's supposed to show something that's not even realistic all the time. Like, it's not always there. The dinosaurs aren't real in Jurassic Park. That's what acting is, you know. That you can't practice with a real dinosaur. So, in order to make it feel real, you just have to act. And I don't think you need to be in that element to make that real. People say documentaries are the realest thing out there, but just as fake. Just as fake. And that's the...
Even the documentary, the 237 documentary on the film is a lot of nonsense in some areas.
And that's the thing. It's like, it's the magic of filmmaking and also documentary filmmaking isn't how well we can convince the audience that this is real. It's how much could we convince the audience that you can understand that this situation is real for the characters, you know? Because you can get a ridiculous situation. We got the most highest grossing films of all time, like Avengers Endgame, Avatar, etc. Very fictionalized film. Couldn't happen in a million years. But the characters are so important to us, and that in how they are in that situation matters so much that, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because premise versus reality, and that same thing goes with tropes. I hear a lot of criticism about, like, if a film uses too many tropes, it's a bad movie. No, it's what they do differently with those tropes. It's how they subvert the audiences that makes it good. It's about how, you know, it's about how you make it right, how you express it, and also how you hold on it. I just don't... It's such a sticky situation because people get so critical. People say, like, you got to do the Shelley Duvall stuff. You got to, you know, not directly with actors, but to the point it's like you got to take your film so seriously that you do that. And, like, you can still take your film seriously and be cool on set, you know? You know what I mean? Mm. And I would like to be the one to say that, no, bad films are bad films because people do method acting, but gosh dang it. Good films. There's good films that have method acting. There's good films that had horrible things on set. You heard about Twilight Zone the movie, right? Where
yeah.
3 people got beheaded and everything like that. Yeah. That's not directly their fault. That's not like someone asked a plane to come and crash in front of them, but like it's still to the point that it's like they decided to release the film. You know, I don't know. It gets sticky with the morals.
Well, it's also Hollywood, which we're not going to get into that stuff. But yeah, it's that's
well,
self-explanatory.
Talking
They're
back to the idea of the magic of Hollywood, it's not just what the audience is hidden from in the film to make the magic trick. It's what the audience is hidden from the people who made the film as well. Honestly,
we know much stuff.
We know too much about Hollywood, and that's why I like anti-Hollywood picture. I like films that were made more independently, low budget, but I like high budget. We should, you know, I'm gonna say it now, and I want you to hold me to this. So far on the FanCast, we've talked a lot about bigger budget, kind of like more well-known films, and the only like lower one was Marble Hornets because that was just a couple of guys and everything. Hold me to this, but I think we should bring up, maybe in a different segment or something, I don't know, we should address some lower budget, more indie films.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, we're still trying to get recognition, so we'll see. The balance.
Even a unique thing for us.
Yeah.
If we.
Well, either way, back to what we were saying about The Shining and everything like that. It's just, yeah, it's hard to say, like, to commend, you know, the director so much because it is still a good product. It is still, from a filmmaking perspective, it's still a lot of good stuff. But the means that everyone says, oh, the ends justify the means in every single situation. But in this situation, it's like, you know,
to an extent,
yeah, I don't agree with it. Okay, this is like morning, noon, and night moral edition, and I don't believe that the ends always justify the means. I feel like that's a ridiculous state. That's like a Nietzsche belief, and no, that's like saying like I stabbed someone and their daughter had a better life because of it, not because he was abuser, just because, I don't know. That doesn't mean you directly caused it. That doesn't mean, like, I just don't think it's justified. And that's the other thing. You also have to say, let's just say for this situation, you would have to say that Stanley Kubrick was altruistic and he knew that abusing Shelley Duvall in these scenes would give her the best acting performance of her life and pretty much put her on the map. And I'm pretty sure, I don't think Shelley Duvall, pretty sure she's still alive. But either way, I don't think like she regrets those scenes. Like she still references it fondly. Like that was still her big break, but you know, it doesn't, I don't know. I'm just thinking, I'm still thinking about like a,
you know what's weird too, and this is common knowledge. When The Shining came out and it had a lot of mixed reviews, it was nominated for two Razzie Awards. One for Kubrick for being the worst director, and for Shelley Duvall for being the worst actress.
That's funny.
Which, yeah, it's.
And you'd think that it would become like a cult classic over time, but nope. It became a cult classic fairly recently after, because like, I don't know, people were referencing it all the way, like as early as the early 80s. Like, here's Johnny is such an iconic line and everyone knows it. And I don't know if you get, like, you know that's it. Like, this is just pop culture history for me. And I might sound stupid to, like, people who were, like, of that time or early periods. But, you know, we're all learning. We're all learning pop culture history. But that's specifically a reference to Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show, because that's what they would say. You get...
Yeah, I knew that.
That's just me being stupid. Because I didn't get that at first. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Johnny Carson, blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh, I feel like the more pop culture history I put in my brains, the more I feel like I'm less stupid. But it's not true. I'm still stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah?
We all know that, Sky. You're really dumb.
Like, when you hear me doing this,
Then to get off the podcast.
I still think so many quotable lines. It's just so well, and people say that's all the performances, but no, the writing's really good in that.
That's probably my second favorite scene in the whole film.
It's so good.
Second to being when he actually like starts going insane and like in the bat swinging and everything.
Still didn't see Doctor Sleep though. Here it's okay.
Yeah, we both haven't seen it. We both don't really know anything about it. The most we really know about it is whatever Chris Stuckman said in his review.
The problem is, you're kind of forced to not have Jack Torrance as a main villain anymore. That's the whole thing. Like, and now you have like this gang of people who have The Shining. It's just bizarre. Like, why?
Well, it's also based off of a sequel book, which I don't even think Jack is he's mentioned, but he's not like made like a main focal point in the story.
Honestly, you know what? It would have been so cool to see. I would have liked to see if Stanley Kubrick stuck around for another Stephen King film, like if he made another one, because his like. Props to the miniseries, the original miniseries, but him doing it would be interesting, because he wouldn't make it like as on the nose as it is today, because it's like it's almost goofy how on the nose it is today, but like imagine making it like a full on like is Pennywise or anyone even real? Imagine something like that.
That's the thing too. Like I don't think the new It movies. I've only seen the first one. It's enjoyable, but it's not really scary. Like
the new one is goofier and still pretty good.
It's not.
That's what I heard.
I don't think it's gonna hold up like 20, 30 years from now as The Shining does now.
Well, the thing is, the original miniseries is even dated a bit. It's just. No offense to the directors or anything, but it's like even Stranger Things, it's gonna be dated, but everything's gonna be dated to some degree. Everything is. It's just what's charmingly dated and what's like dated. Like, here's an example. It's like, for me at least, like the devil dogs in Ghostbusters are charmingly dated. Like you see, like you know it's fake, but it's really still enjoyable, and it almost adds to the movie. Poorly dated. I'm trying to think, because like I love physical props and everything like that. I would actually say that like.
Are we talking about effects or
in general? In general, just like how the film, like I would say like in that way, I feel like a lot of. I would say like a lot of nudity that's in like teenage comedies are kind of dated, because that's just not.
Here's a good example. Rocky 4 charmingly dated, but Rocky 5 dated.
That's perfect example. And for me, I feel like stuff like Stranger Things, and another good example would be like Warm Bodies. I think is a very underrated 2010s film. And it's hard picking out good it's like those are charmingly dated, but like Ready Player One and like it.
Ready Player One is going to be dated in like 5 years.
It's already kind of dated because we already know that's not how people act in VR. People act very ridiculous. It's like, it was funny, that film came out and like right soon after like the Ugandan Knuckles meme came out and people figured out like it's the internet. People are not going to be like, oh, I'm so cool and everything like that. People are going to be freaking trolls on it. And dude,
the thing with Radio it's very
if you had something like the Sixers in real life and they were like hired people who play like VR chat, they would get memed on so hard. They would but you know, going back to it, like The Shining, Ghostbusters, good dated. The Thing, good dated. Even the things that are poorly dated could still be charming. Like, I don't know. I was looking at old 80s slashers and stuff like that, and some are like really dated, like boring. Like, that's the original Friday the 13th films, but like they're still poignant. You know, they're still entertaining.
Even the original Halloween, which is a movie I absolutely hate.
You should watch Halloween 3.
It's controversial opinion. I hate.
That's the other thing. It's like what has staying power too. Like, it's interesting. Like, Halloween 3 was the first Halloween to not have Michael Myers in it, and it got hated. Like, people were like, "Where's Michael Myers? Where's Michael Myers?" And now it's like a cult classic because it's just so goofy and fun, and like people want that 80s fun. That's what they wanted in Stranger Things. It was like they want horror, but they don't want straight horror. They want like goofy horror. Basically, they want the kids to have a fun time with it. But no, The Shining, the original Halloween, straight horror, just direct horror. And
funny too, with the way you mentioned the kids, because the kid that played Danny Torrance didn't even know he was in a horror film when they were filming.
That's funny because he takes it so straight and so seriously.
Yeah, he did it really good too.
Overall, it's almost like a stage play in a way because it's just these three characters and it's just so straightforward and it's just good. Give it a watch this season if you feel something spooky, but it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, it's even though The Thing is much more gruesome visually, The Shining I feel like is it's something that I definitely wouldn't show a kid. Like, even
I would show
way more so
the
than
Thing to a kid before I showed The Shining, honestly.
Exactly. I agree. The Shining. Every time I watch it, I have to skip the 237 scene for obvious reasons. At least with The Shining, with The Thing, I can watch the whole thing through.
Oh my gosh. Ugh. Oh man.
Yeah.
Atmospheric horror, dude.
Yeah, and also here's the thing: even if when you watch The Shining and you don't really find it scary, just wait until the very end and then all the questions will come to your head, and then that's when the real horror comes. It's not really a scary film, but the emotional impact that it will leave on you is very, very big. And it's probably the most uneasiest film I've ever seen.
So if you're not as a faint of heart, give it a watch. And yeah, thank you for joining us for another. I'm talking to the audience apparently. I've never done this before. Thank you for joining us for another episode, and we'll see you all next time.
Later. And check out Alex Curley's Marble Hornet.